Today I have with me Chris Marek, who's a member of the Caerusnet Canton Thursday 1 o'clock team. His business, so awesome. School of Rock, baby. I'm so excited about that because one of the cool things about Caerusnet is that we have unique businesses in addition to the ones you might find in most teams. You also get a cool thing like School of Rock that pops up here and there. So Chris, thanks for investing a little time of your snowy weather day today with us. And I'm looking forward to learning from you. So first, if you wouldn't mind, maybe just share a little bit about, who you are. I understand that you used to be a principal and now you're a principal of the School of Rock. Maybe you can just kind of paint the picture for us for how you made this transition, what had you excited about School of Rock, and just kind of bring us up to speed.
Well, thanks for having me on, Steve. When I was younger, I played a lot of different instruments in school, and I picked up the guitar when I was 11 for the first time. And my mother took me to some lessons, and it was the old school type of lesson where they gave you a Mel Bay book, and you had to play hot cross buns, sight reading, and I was bored to death. And so I pretty much self-taught the instrument. And then, went through high school, was in a few bands here and there and everything, and got really into it in college and thought that I was going to actually be a professional musician. And I was talked out of it by my parents. They said, do the responsible thing. And I got my degree, went into education, eventually became an assistant principal at a couple of different school districts, Wayne Westland and Plymouth Canton. And when I realized that I could actually take my full retirement, because I was lucky enough to have bought 5 years in advance, I was looking for something to do because my wife was definitely not going to let me just sit around and do nothing. And I ended up finding School of Rock, and it was just a perfect, way for me to get back into music and to, help people have a better experience because of my story where I was working on hot cross buns. What inspired me about School of Rock was their approach, and it was learning songs and actually playing with other people and playing live. And that's what we do, and that's what we offer, is a completely different experience than your traditional really boring sight reading experience that come with most different types of lessons. And so we do guitar, bass guitar, keyboards, drums, and vocals. And we actually just had a huge rock show this past Sunday. We have at just the Canton location, we have over 80 performers, 200 total students, and it was an all-day, just a great show all around. And so those are the things that we do. And we are actually, I had to cancel tonight the auditions because of the snow emergency we're having here in Detroit. But we have auditions for our all-star band, which is called our house band. And we had, I believe, 18 students ready to audition to try and get into this. Because what we also do is this house band, they play more of an advanced set of songs, and then we take them all across Metro Detroit to play at different venues, and it's just a blast. And they're playing such advanced songs that the kids are getting great. And they're actually, we have 3 students that I believe are going to try out for the all-star group through School of Rock, because of course it's a franchise, and there's over 300 locations in the country, and those students are going to try out next year for all-stars. And if they make it, they go on a 6-week tour all across the country, and they play at, just fantastic venues like Red Rocks in Colorado. They'll be out to California, Texas, Florida, all over the place in the summer. It's just an awesome thing. And it's what I wish was around when I was a kid. And so that's why I got into it.
Yeah, that is super cool. You're able to personalize that so much. And so let's ask a couple questions here. First question would be, I've heard you use the language, kids. So is it only kids that can start learning how to play music with you, or is there a wider audience? Can you work with, somebody who's that person that's regretting in life that they never learned how to play an instrument and they're 50 years old and they'd like to learn that instrument and be able to play it in retirement. And then the other question that I've got for you too is I know that you recently also acquired the Farmington Hills School of Rock location. So you're the owner of the Canton and the Farmington Hills. Let's talk about who can be a client of yours, who really benefits from this, what's the range, and how they can connect with you.
Yeah, thanks for asking that, Steve. That reminds me of we have an adult band. We have adult bands at both locations, and it is an absolute blast. And what we really cater towards are parents that have wanted to do something like this. And oftentimes they're professionals, and so we've got several engineer and marketing people, and people that, just like everybody else, they're working 100 hours a week, but this is their outlet, and we just make it fun for them. And what we do is we set up several shows a year with the school itself, and then away from the school. So there's just adult band gigs as well. And so at Canton, it's really thriving. We have 9, paid customers right now, and it's great. We could actually, if need be, we could probably play about 3 hours worth of music. So the guys have gotten, the men and women have gotten just so good at working with us and working with our staff. And a few take individual lessons, and a few already have the chops to just jump right in and have at it, and they're playing some pretty advanced stuff. So it's great, and I love to see that these people that they don't have the connections to form their own band, they don't have the wherewithal to be able to book gigs, because having been in a lot of bands that tried to book bars, when you don't have a business card that says you own a school of rock, it's really tough to get booked sometimes because they don't know if you're any good, and they also don't know if you're going to bring in any customers. And now when I ask somebody if we can play, the answer is almost always yes, because they know we're going to bring quality and they know we're going to bring people. And so it's a blast. And we're kind of rebuilding the adult band over at Farmington right now. I did purchase it this past August. It had been in existence for 10 years prior, and the owner was ready to kind of get out and do something else. And so he and I had been talking. We agreed on a price, and I took it over officially on August 1st, and renovated the inside, patched and painted, got new equipment and new furniture throughout. And Steve, you are actually the first person to hear this, but I actually just found out this morning the owner of the building has agreed on a purchase price for the building too. So I am now officially in the process of buying the building that we are in Farmington, and that means that we're going to be doing more renovations. We need a lighting package outside. You drive by at night and there's nothing lit up. So I've had customers come in and try us, and they're like, we didn't even know if you were open. Well, we need some lighting. But apparently the engineers that might stumble upon this, they'll know what I'm talking about. Apparently there's a lot to a lighting package outside. You can't just go to Lowe's and get a lamp and put it outside. So there are some involved projects, but we're gonna shape it up to be the best it can be in the next year, and we expect that to get to the same capacity as we have in Canton, and it's just a blast. But the second question you asked was about Farmington. Touching upon that a little bit, they've had a great 10-year history. They're actually the original owner's story is one of the reasons why I wanted to get into this franchise in the first place. Yeah, so the purchase of Farmington was an amazing process, because the original owner was somebody who actually inspired me to get into this in the first place, because I loved his story about retiring from being an engineer and kind of getting back into music like he wanted to when he was a kid, and I kind of saw myself in that story. And so Again, he was a great guy, but just wanted to go do something else, and we agreed on a purchase price. And we've done as much as we can right now, but again, we are just now finding out that the owner of the building has agreed to a purchase price. And so in the next couple months, I'll actually own the building, and we're going to do some big renovations inside. But I'm very happy that we're going to stay in this just great spot. It's an old recording studio. And so one of the cool things is the framework inside is all cinder block. All the walls are cinder block. You would never be able to build this, today. And so with the renovations, we're going to be putting up sheetrock, but we won't mess with the with the cinder block. You'd be crazy to. So it's going to be a real fun process to get that going. And the families over there are great. I inherited a ton of awesome teachers. We've got a great staff over there, and I'm just living kind of the best of both worlds between both locations. I'm lucky to work with so many amazing people, and it's just a lot of fun.
So I love all that information and appreciate that share. Quick question for you. Is this your first entrepreneurial adventure as a business owner?
It definitely is. My eyes get opened probably once a month still to this day after 3 years of being in business, because I didn't know anything about the business side of things. When you work in a school system and you're part of an institution and you just get a paycheck, you don't see how the other side works. You don't understand about payroll taxes and all of the other things that go into this. Yeah. Last week I had, thankfully I've got a collection of contacts, and many of them through Caerusnet, but I had to have a plumber out because one of my sinks fell off the wall. What are you going to do? Like when I was a middle school principal, we just called maintenance and they would do it. I am maintenance, and so it's all of those things you don't realize what you're actually getting into. And so and again, I didn't expect the sink to fall off the wall.
Yeah, it is so funny too, because that's the main thing. Is most time when people start a business or get involved in a business, they're most excited about that product or service that they're going to be offering to the world, and that's all they think about. And then all these other things start coming along, and then we recognize all the different hats we have to learn to wear comfortably in our business in order for it to be successful. So okay, so I think you've done a great job profiling School of Rock and all of what it has to offer. And I'll be sure that all of the links and the YouTube are going to be there, so people go right to your website if they want to connect with you and learn more, possibly become a student, come tour the facility. Let's switch gears just really quickly to a couple Caerusnet questions. First one is, who was it that told you about Caerusnet? How did that conversation come up? I always wish I was a fly on the wall during those times.
Well, I probably have a different story than everyone else, because Scott Shea, who is one of the longest standing members of the Canton branch, and I have done business together and been, friends for more than 20 years. And when he and I worked on a purchase of a home, boy, this must have been about 22 years ago, he mentioned that, he was talking to me about networking and everything. And again, being in education, I didn't really, understand what all that was about. And he was already into networking before, of course, joining Caerusnet, being a real estate agent. So he helped me purchase my current home 10 years ago. And I believe he was already in Caerusnet, and then he was explaining some of the contacts and everything. And then when he found out I was going into business, he actually was the first person, that I contacted for some people to help me actually put everything together, because again, I didn't know the business side. So he got me in touch with my attorney who was in Caerusnet. He got me in touch with my accountant, who their firm is in Caerusnet. And so, and now I think I somewhat employ half of the people in the Canton branch with, from cable to paychecks and, all the other things. And, it's just a great organization, especially for somebody like me that didn't have any business background. And, I learned a whole lot. I'm still trying to get better at the referral process because I do a ton of informal referrals and I don't go back and do the paperwork. Which, I know does drive Steve crazy, but it's one of those things where, anytime it does, a question comes up about, now payroll, because I just switched over to paychecks. I tell people, and I give them Valerie's name and things like that. I just need to get better at going back and, hey, I referred some.
Yeah, well, the documenting of the referrals just allows me to see that, people are helping each other, gives me a chance to chime in. But the most important thing is that, people are actually doing the connecting of people. If they forget to do the little documenting of it, I'm not going to make a big deal about that. It's when somebody does neither that kind of is a problem to work with.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So the funny thing about that too, is you mentioned when you were in the principal's role, you called maintenance if something went wrong, right? So the other thing that Caerusnet does for you is it gives you different departments, different lines of business for you. So you kind of do have like a maintenance you could call in Caerusnet, but it might be for payroll or it might be for other things. And I think that, and the other thing that's great too is that, you stay top of mind. I know that some of the people that are on the teams have also put their kids into your programs as well, and have had great things to say. So my hope is that this will inspire more people in Caerusnet to learn about you and to reach out to you. Will you give a tour of the facility? What's kind of the protocol if somebody's interested in learning more?
Well, it sounds like you're going to have a link to the website and everything. And right on the website, one of the things you see is you can get a free trial. And so just give phone number, email, and your first and last name, and one of our general managers will contact that person and set up a trial lesson. And then during the trial lesson, give them a full tour of the facilities and explain all of the different things that we do. One thing that I did forget to mention earlier, well, actually two things. Number one, think of this as a club sport for musicians. That's really what this is. It's not, again, because you got to get away from those Mel Bay books and learning hot cross buns, when you want to play Led Zeppelin. And we will teach you to play, at least a basic version of some Led Zeppelin right away and get you into a band and things like that. But it's that whole experience. It's not just taking lessons that we offer. And the second thing is, and I think this comes from, the education background that I have, but our mantra that, I live by all the time with both branches is that this should be one of the best things that these students do during the week. Kids and adults and everybody, we want them to really look forward to this. So I only employ people that have a real positive attitude and, are trying to work towards the same goal. And, I think that feeds over into our clientele. And, it's just a very, very positive atmosphere at both places.
Well, Chris Marek, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day-to-day to share your story with the Caerusnet network. I look forward to sharing this with everybody in the network and hearing more about your continued success in the future, not just on the Caerusnet Canton team, but your entrepreneurial adventures that you're going on and really just doing a great job. So we'll look forward to catching up with you in the future and checking in and seeing what else is going to be happening with School of Rock in the future. But thanks so much for spending time with us today, Chris.
Thank you so much, Steve.